Welcome to the first session. So to learn to sing in just intonation, with this method you can use any stringed instrument, but this is the perfect one really. This is Indian Tampura. And what's special about this is it has a particular bridge called a jawari. It splits the constituents of the sound, similar to the way that what a prism does with light. In fact, if I play one string at a time, you can hear that the harmonics cascade down. So we're going to talk a lot about harmonics in this method. Harmonics are all those little sounds that float over the top of the main tonic, the main tone. And they give us a guide to how to sing in pure harmony. Because as long as the string is constructed evenly, well made, those harmonics are in tune according to numerical ratios. We can pluck them out, we can induce them one by touching nodes in the string. If you're a guitarist, you might have done this already. So for example, if I touch the middle of the string, then it gives me the second partial, which is exactly 2 times the frequency of the fundamental, which is in this case C sharp. If I touch a third away along the string, I get the third partial and so on. So you can use any stringed instrument for that. Just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to look for the biggest stringed instrument that I can find. Yeah, I think this will do. So the amazing thing about the double bass is that you can hear those harmonics really, really clearly. So my tonic note is tuned to C sharp. So if you're a female singer, you probably want to tune that to around, tune your tonic to around G sharp, even G, to make it more comfortable. For me, that's a nice, comfortable starting note. So I'm going to use some of the names that from the Indian system of solfege. Solfege means, in the West, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The Indian system is sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. Each of them are abbreviations for something. And I like that system because besides the fact that I'm an Indian classical musician, it also sounds very natural. A lot of R sounds there. So I'm going to use that system, particularly so that you understand that these are functions we're talking about. So our starting note is called sa, and that sa can be anywhere. Wherever I put the sa, I decide that that's sa. So that's the starting point. So this is the point that we create all the relationships around. So my sa is C sharp. So first I learned to sing 1 to 1. That's the most important thing. That is the ratio of 1 to 1. What does that mean? That means I have to be able to sing that note in unison exactly. Until I can sing exactly in unison, without my voice wobbling, I can't really hope to find the other tones as well. So the first thing to do is learn to sing sa in a very stable way. Sa. Sa. So you have to pay particular attention that you sing exactly on the note. And the other thing is, it's a good idea when you're practicing this to try to take the vibrato out of your voice. So many Western singers naturally sing with this undulation called vibrato. Ah. fact the pitch undulation. So if you want to learn to sing really accurately in pitch, first practice without vibrato. Sa. So your voice is doing exactly what that bowed string is doing. So that's our first ratio, 1 to 1, which corresponds to the first partial. Now the second partial, to hear this very clearly, I touch the string around at the distance of halfway, like I showed you on the tampura. So if I find the halfway point and I just touch it lightly, it produces the octave. So I can tune my big string to that note. Now the next interval, the one that's very important for creating the just intonation, comes from the third partial. So to find the third partial in that string, I then have to find a place which is a third of the way along the string. So let's see if I can find it. So the relationship between the tonic, sa, and that harmonic is the ratio of 3 to 1. And we call that note pa. But what we're going to do in this system is every time we find a note, we're going to reduce that so that they all fit. It all fits within 1 octave. So that way we can easily sing all of the tones. We're going to call that note pa. In the melodic system, that's called the perfect fifth. But be careful of these two terminologies mixing up now, because you see the confusion is we call that a fifth melodically, but harmonically it has more to do with a 3, because it comes from the ratio of 3 to 1. And it's the third partial, and you divide the string in 3. Well, we call it a fifth. So this is the method for learning to sing these notes. First, listen to the harmonic. Then you might like to hum it. And then play the note that it was derived from, in this case sa, and see if you can hear it in the sa. Because once you've isolated that sound, you should be able to still hear it in that chord of that string. In other words, that sound is sitting there as a little harmonic angel guiding us to learn to sing in tune. So then you try to sing it with the sa. We're calling it pa. Pa. You have to be prepared to be able to move your voice very slightly up and down until you hear the place where it's responding with the harmonic. Pa. Now that interval is very important for creating the just tempered scale. But there's one other interval that we're going to use as well, that we find directly from the sa. So that's the third partial. Let's have a listen to the fourth one. Now the fourth one gives us another octave. With any multiples of 2 basically are going to give us an octave. But let's have a listen. Let's find the fifth partial. That one's a little more difficult to produce, but on the bass it's still very audible. That's the fifth partial, which gives us, in melodic terms, what we call the perfect third. Now this is the interval that's most different from equal temperament. This is actually 14 cents flatter, which means that it's a beautiful, soft, very feminine sound. So it's a wonderful thing to learn to sing the real just-tempered major third. In our Indian solfege system we call that Ga, short for Gandhar. So first listen to it, and then hum it. We're going to reduce it by a couple of octaves. Play the Sa. See if you can hear it lingering in the Sa there. And then see if you can sing it with Sa. Ga. You have to try to remember very strongly that harmonic. And be prepared to shift your voice around until you hear where it's sounding most resonant. And remember, if you've been playing equal tempered music, which is most of us, if you've been a musician for many years, be prepared to really bring that note down. It's much flatter than you think it is. Ga, Sa, Ga, Sa, Ba, Sa, Ga. All right, so that's given us two tones in the scale. Now the other tones we're going to derive from them in different ways. That is, we're going to jump up from one of those. So what I'm going to do is tune my next string, tune this string to the Pa, the interval of a perfect fifth. Exactly 2 cents sharper than the equal tempered. So now what I'm going to do is find those third and fifth partial from the Pa string. So remember, we found from the Sa, we found Pa here, touching a third of the way along the string. So if I touch the same point with the Pa, I produce another just tempered note. And that gives us the note we call Re. So you listen to that note, that harmonic, you can hum it, we reduce it. So in effect we've done 2 skips from the Sa, Sa, Pa, Re, Re. And again, when you play the Pa, see if you can hear that harmonic in the string. And sing it with the Pa. So what we've done is we found the Pa of the Pa. Now that might be getting confusing. So sing that with the Pa. And then sing that with the Sa. Sa, Re. And again, be prepared to adjust your voice microtonally. Listen to those different responses from the harmonics. Re. I think this Re is slightly sharper than what is the equal tempered major second. So that's our just tempered major second. Now likewise we got the Ga by inducing the fifth partial from the Sa. We do the same thing from Pa, and it gives us another note we call Ni. So that's one way to produce the just tempered major seventh. So again, listen, hum, then sing it with the pa. Then try it with sa. Ni sa ni sa. So it's just under the octave sa. So that gives us then 5 notes. And all of those 5 notes can be heard very clearly in the harmonics, just from the sa and the pa string, which is also what the tampura is normally tuned to. And that pentatonic scale is called a Hamsadvani in the Indian system. It's actually a South Indian raga. Sa, re, ga, sa ni pa ga re sa. So work very slowly in the beginning, listen for those notes, try to get them in tune. Eventually you can try making different phrases, try improvising. Dire